Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Toast to the Arts Show, where we celebrate books, music, visual, and the performing arts. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're very excited to welcome Karen Uhlmann onto the show. She has got a brand new book. It's actually her debut novel, but she is not, she's been around writing for a long time. But this is her debut novel. It is out on May 6th. And I'm encouraging you to get it because this is quite a thriller in a way. It's Intersections is the name of it, and it comes out through She Writes Press. And you can also keep up with her on her website. So you can pre-order. You can go to KarenUhlmann.com, and that's UHLMANN.com. I'm just trying to prove to people I can spell, but it's also linked in the episode notes. But I know all authors appreciate pre-orders. It helps. So support authors. So welcome to the show, Karen. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
It's funny. I was going to say welcome back. I feel like I've talked to you. In fact, you actually look very familiar to me too. I was like, I feel like I know her somewhere.
You may. It's not entirely impossible.
Oh, she's been around.
I've been around.
Well, this is definitely, this is a wild story, but it's not too far from the truth in a way, right?
It started off with a real incident. There was a small child. It's been over 20 years now, that was hit and killed in an intersection. She was crossing with her parents in Chicago. And in reality, the person was caught right away. Not in my book. But in reality. And there was a police officer who was one of the first on the scene, who became very, both distressed and obsessed, I would say. And he stood at that intersection and videotaped it almost every afternoon for, I think, several years. And I would walk past him. And we actually never spoke, but I was very curious, and it just stuck in my mind, and then eventually became the seed for this novel.
That's wild because when you think sometimes they do that to see if speeding has to change, like the speed limit, or should they put a bump in, or there's some of that. But if it's someone that keeps going there, there's something.
Well, he wanted apparently to raise awareness about pedestrian safety and also catch, people who went through the stop and ticket them. And he did, which is in my novel, have stickers made with her face on it that he put on people's tickets.
Ooh, that's a little deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, seeing a little girl killed is a really traumatic thing. I don't care if you're, in the police service or not. I know I always think that about, those who serve and sacrifice. They really do go out there and they see things that would traumatize us. And then I wonder, then they could see another thing the next day that is so traumatic like that. And I think it sits with you,
it does. And I did talk to a couple of police officers, researching this. And the one thing that came up was this is the kind of thing they don't get over. They don't get over a child death. So, even though they see it, it's just as horrible for them.
Wow. But your book goes a little crazy,
It does go a little crazy. It has almost every problem.
I'm like, we're talking about, it's grief. And yet at the same time, there's horrible things that happen in life, like someone, reversing on the driveway and driving over their kid or something like that stuff happens, right?
Yes.
And you go how do you get past that? How much therapy do you need? Lifetime membership kind of thing. And I'm not making light when I say that. I mean, I don't know if I could get past something like that personally.
No, I don't think I could.
No. And that's why I say this would be, I mean, even though an accident is an accident, sometimes accidents just come from some crazy out of nowhere place. And, hit and run is horrible. I remember we were in a hit and run accident.
Oh no.
Yeah. When we lived in South Africa, my mom, Nancy, was doing a tour with her artwork. She's a wildlife artist, primarily. And, and a writer. Obviously, this is what we do as, magazine and all that. But she was touring the country, raising funds for the Cancer Association, using her art and taking commissions. And it was this wild ride. We were on the road for a year and a half doing that. Now we're still on the road, but kind of, we're good gypsies. But she was doing all this, and it had on the side of the van, which was sponsored from Ford. We had our own van from them. Thank you very much. Very nice of them to donate it for this duration of the trip. In Nancy Reed's painting safari. This is in South Africa. And the license plate, I think, was from the Transvaal or something, or Natal. I can't remember what state or province over there. And some guy just started hitting her. Like, we got pulled over all the time because of the word safari, thinking we had animals. And we didn't. We had art. But this guy just came in and started trying to hit the car, and did hit the side of the car where I was as a little girl.
That is so scary.
Early teenage. And so eventually don't mess with her. She's run car rallies in Kenya. She chased him down. She turned around and managed to pull him off the side of the road. She went up to the car, pulled him out of the car, put him up against a wall. This isn't like in a downtown area. Puts him up against the wall and like, you will never do that to me again. And all these men and women circled her so the guy couldn't get away.
And this is your mother.
Yeah, don't mess with her.
Oh my God.
Because she was so mad because he hit my side of the car.
Yeah, he was endangering you. Yes.
And she was freaked out. This is my daughter. And it was all about our license plate, and it was where we were from. And that had nothing to do with us. And in fact, we weren't from there. And she just, it was just all very fast, like one of those things that happened so quickly. And she was like, you're not getting away. And he didn't. The cops came.
Good.
He got nailed. She was like, you are not doing this, because this was not a oopsie hit and run and I'm scared and I ran because I'm scared. This was a vendetta, and he was trying to get away, and she was
awful. I'm proud of her. I mean,
she's a badass. I'm allowed to say that. She's a badass. You're from Chicago. I can say
I'm from Chicago. Yeah. You have to be a badass.
But yeah, I mean, that's a really crazy, and it's crazy what she did. But when you live in Africa, you kind of have it. We're a little different over there. We had to calm down when we got here and realize life was not about, survival all the time. But you're different over there. That's all I can say. We're just a little bit different in different times. But we were attacked, and she wasn't going to let that happen to somebody else. And she was able to get him pulled up and in a way and the people that rallied around her, we were in an Indian part of town. It was an Indian section, and it was the Indians that did it. East Asian.
That's wonderful.
They're like, that's not happening here. And they took him away.
Good.
Yeah. Different story, but let's go to yours but that's what I was saying. The hit and run thing is crazy when it happens. And your book goes into hit and runs. But the thing of the officer and the witness, like, that's a little wild. Where did you get that? Tell. I don't want to see. This is why,
and I don't want to give. I don't want to give too much away. And I actually have it sometimes, but the officer. Well, that was reality, and in reality, the guy was caught right away, which is not the reality in my book. And I really wanted to write a book about friendship and unlikely friends. And so I had a woman in the neighborhood also witness the accident and think that out of the corner of her eye, she sees her own car, fleeing. And the story kind of went on from there, and all kinds of things are going on with this. Well, with both the police officer and this woman. This woman is, faints at a party and discovers that she's pregnant, not by her husband. She's been in this long, bad marriage, and she's broken up with her lover. And so she's almost 45. And so she discovers she's pregnant and has, panics, doesn't know what to do. So that's all going on. And also her daughter is a mentally ill drug addict.
Oy.
So, yes.
Well, this is the mentally ill drug addict part. Let's touch on that a bit because
Mhm.
mental illness or mental health, um, it is prevalent everywhere in the world, right? And
Yes.
like I don't know, like the guy who hit us, like what was that? Was that just
Well,
racism or whatever? You're in this from this state, so I hate you. It's going to be something political that we weren't too involved in at that point. But the wellness of someone doing something, like a lot of times crime comes from mental health issues.
it
And then it's
does.
like you go to a cell, and does that help anything? Depending on where you are, it's like, so again, it depends on what state you're in and what your license plate is, right?
True.
Or town, right? It's true.
Hmm.
And, also when I think about all of that, it's, drugs and mental health. Drugs have been used to escape issues.
Right. And
So,
that's exactly what's going on here.
yeah,
Um, there's almost no addiction without a mental health issue, as you probably know.
that's right.
Hmm.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's something going on. There's something, and that takes therapy and help. And, you think also, when you think back in Vietnam, people are coming back and smoking and doing all kinds of things, to get through LSD. They were going on a trip to get past what they saw in Vietnam. And, drugs were very prevalent too at that point,
Yeah,
so
they were.
that drug culture came up and it was like a way to escape what they saw, sometimes not in a good way. It didn't
Right.
help. Now we're
Right.
finding some of it does, but so the drug addiction side and the mental health, that can spiral into some really not good things.
Right. So we also take the journey with this woman whose name is Charlotte, and her daughter, through, a couple rehabs and,
Mm-hmm.
the breakup of her marriage, this woman's marriage. And, um, so we follow this girl who we only see mainly through the eyes of her mother through, several years of it. Well, I guess it's really written within a year, but that we jump forward and see her later in life, the daughter
Yeah.
and the mother. Yes.
We're not going to give anything away here.
No, I'm trying not to give anything
See,
away.
I did my part, but to a point, I'm like,
Yeah.
uh-oh. Well, no, because this is, I think, the story too is of people that become friends out of something horrific. People do. Like right now where we are, we're in Asheville, North Carolina, and we're in recovery mode in this area where we are. We've been in and out of this beautiful city for a few years and going through a hurricane, and us having gone through wildfires, you'll see people that
Hmm.
hate each other in town help each other. You'll see, in recovery and emergencies, suddenly your, worst enemy can become your best friend. And
Yes.
I think, and it doesn't have to be that extreme, but sometimes friendships just come out of nowhere, you
It's
know?
true. And I think in this case, their friendship was also built on grief and loss for different reasons. Charlotte was grieving, essentially the loss of her daughter, even though she's
Mm,
alive. And the policeman, and this is not giving anything away, was in my book, on paid leave because his best friend was killed in a drug bust, that he was also shot, in this drug bust. And forensics found out that the bullet that actually killed his best friend and police partner came from his gun, from Ed's gun, who's the police officer in my
mm-hmm.
book. So he's on paid leave. So he's mourning the loss of his best friend and work partner and possibly his job
Mm.
in this book.
That's crazy too. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you think like what we were talking about, when you go through these things all the time, you get to this, well, it's PTSD, right?
He
You
does have
start living with,
PTSD. Mm-hmm.
yeah, you go through that. I mean, I know that from going through the fires and stuff like that and some things in life. You can definitely get it pretty quickly
Yeah.
and not realize it. And then if there's a fear of losing your job, that escalates everything,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're dedicated and have integrity to your career.
Right. He loves his career. He is close to retire. His wife wants him to retire. Um, but he loves his career. So,
Wow.
and he's
Wow,
proud of
that's
what he does.
God. I mean, aren't you if you take people away from hurting other people?
Yeah. Yeah. He's a really good guy. And I had never written a male character. So this was
Mm.
interesting to me.
Well, now, didn't you do reporting work?
I do reporting pretty long ago. Yes, I did. And then I wrote for some magazines, actually for a few years. Well, years.
What kind of stories? Like, were they
I
fiction,
worked,
nonfiction?
no, I did shelter magazines like House Beautiful and Home.
Okay, nice,
And I
nice.
had a co-writer, but we kind of had a thing
If there's a
going.
murder scene, this is how you clean it up and make it nice
Right.
for the
Yes,
Thanksgiving dinner.
exactly. This is how you make your kitchen look nice again.
Oh my gosh, that's
But
funny.
yeah, I did that for years. And then
Oh, you know what? Can I just tell you that I
sure.
have huge respect for anyone doing that? But I can't. Like, it's very to not, it's like people who write about food and don't use the word delicious, you know? There's such a quality in being able to do those pieces and do them well, where the information is there, but you're connected into it. That is such a un, um, it just people don't realize how that is, that kind of work. And to do it well, it's just, I always feel like people don't realize how much work goes into that. I just want to say
Well, thank
it's, yeah. Do you know what I mean about that?
Yeah, really any kind of writing, but
Oh, yeah.
especially,
It's a thankless
delving
job.
into things you don't know that
Yeah.
well. And what was I going to say?
That's
And then I started writing fiction when I couldn't do it. I had ended up with 3 children. um, and after my third, I just couldn't keep up with the deadlines and the fact checking and everything. So I started fiction writing and started going to places like Breadloaf and Tin House and writers' conferences. And finally at Breadloaf, one of my instructors who I adore, Sigrid Nunez, who I'm sure you've heard of, she wrote The Friend, which is about to be a series or a movie, said, you've got to stop doing this and get your MFA. This is nuts. So then I ended up going and getting an MFA and taking myself more seriously as a fiction writer.
Cool. Cool. Because you can take something that's exactly real, right? And do what you just did too.
Yeah.
You know?
And fiction's a very different thing. When you write and you're paid for writing, which you are in obviously magazines or if you work for a newspaper. But when you're fiction writing, most of us aren't paid. So it's a different way of taking yourself seriously. There's no kind of validation on some level, until something's published.
Yeah, that's a little, it's so, writing is such a blood, sweat, and tears and
It
beauty at the
is.
same
And
time.
lots of rejection.
Oh God,
Mm-hmm.
that sucks. It's true. It sucks. Anything that you get rejected for sucks, but you learn from it, you know?
You do.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes.
Well, so it's interesting because you talk about fact checking, right? Which is something our
Mhm.
country's going through a
Oh
big
my God.
turmoil on in
Don't.
journalism,
Yeah.
right?
Don't
Yeah.
even go there with me because I'm so angry about everything.
I remember when my mom had her magazine in South Africa and, came in the ranks of doing everything from putting labels on and bagging the magazines and shipping them out, around the world, actually. And doing all kinds of, you're going to make coffee for everyone. You're not just walking in, you're going to
Yeah.
do every bit of dirty work.
Every single dirt. Yeah.
And
My
you're going
niece
to
had
do,
to clean fridges at the New Republic, but go ahead.
see, that's it. Like you're going
Mhm.
to do it. And then you're going to do 3 times the amount of what an employee does,
Mhm.
But I learned really quickly because I'm like, I ain't staying that way. I'm not doing that. And so I better
Yeah.
move quick. But I remember fact checking in those days, and we're talking early 90s.
Hmm.
Yeah, around there. Late 80s, early 90s, and it would be nothing gets published unless it's been checked three times, three different sources. Remember, we didn't have Google back then.
Right.
Yeah, it was, you better get three really good sources. And then I remember when she started doing things in different languages like Afrikaans and then, the different African languages. And we had professors and everything. And then no matter what we did, we always got in trouble. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. But the fact checking thing, what's it like going from the journalism fact checking to and magazine writing, right? The fact checking
Hmm.
is crucial on all levels, but then to a novel where it's still fiction, but you still
You
need
better be
to,
right.
you better not have the wrong gun in the holster for a cop,
Which is why I talk to police officers. And actually, when I was fact checked, it was by other people. They would fact check and then go over it. And so the novel was the first time I really had to do a lot of fact checking on my own. And a lot of that was simply just talking to people, especially, I'm not a police officer. I've never even been in a squad car. Um, so I really had to find
Well, I
out
don't want you to be unless it's for fun.
but I was like, what? I didn't even know what the inside of a squad car looked like. So, I mean, I had so many questions and that stuff. And you're going to hear, and there's a very weird site on Facebook called Cops and Writers. So I would also, if I had questions, I could ask some questions in there. But
That's
yes,
cool.
but you're right. You have to, you can't get years wrong. You can't, like I just took a workshop, at the Tucson Literary Books Festival.
Oh yeah, Tucson Books. Yeah, we have a show where we do a lot of interviews with their Tucson sisters in crime.
Oh,
They come on our show all the time.
I was a finalist in their writing contest.
Cool.
And so I got to take a master class there. And now where am I going with this?
You were talking about getting things right. Yeah.
Getting things right.
Cops,
Because in a story that I used, I had children get a Caribbean cruise Barbie. And this was in the late 60s, early 70s. And people said, were there Caribbean cruise Barbies then? And I said, yes, because I looked it up. But you really have to. Yeah.
And then this is where I think also book clubs come into play, where people get to have these discussion on things that mean, like, what? Who knew we were going to talk about Barbies? Have you been to Barbie Beach in Georgia, by the way? Everybody go look it up. Anyway,
some of them had been there.
No, are you kidding me? Are we really going to talk about Barbie Beach? No way.
Some of them, yes, at least one of them mentioned it, but yeah.
No way. But that's the fun thing about books too.
Mm-hmm.
I always say how personal a book is because you're reading and it's not like you're sitting someone next to like in a movie theater and someone's like not liking the movie, but you are, which sucks because they're just getting all, and you're really into it or vice versa, right? It sucks to be on either side when that happens. But a book, if you're really into it, it's your personal experience and it's your visuals. We create our own visuals. It's personal. And then you can talk about it with people that like that kind of thing. And if they read it now and they enjoyed it, like there's this really cool conversation that will end up being on things you never thought you were going to have a conversation about, like Barbies in the Bahamas or what the Caribbean was.
I know.
I just did a show on the Bahamas and the Caribbean today about cruising. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah. And it was odd that the only thing I got questioned on was the Barbie.
No.
Yeah.
Oh man, are you kidding me? That's funny, but that's fact checking, right? But I know like Tucson Sisters in Crime, they say they have cops come in and different experts on ammunition and like, how I don't know, it's so cool. And there's some kind of mystery of like what you have to look up. And then you start getting weird Google things, and Facebook ads for things that you didn't know.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You're just researching something. And next thing you know, it's like, man, your profile looks weird.
I know. I get all kinds of things. The worst is when you look up something really dicey. Um,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Do you ever feel like like Google cops will
like,
come after you?
yes, I do. I actually go to incognito when I have to.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And so funny because that little hat and the little glasses come on, like, ooh, what are
Uh-huh.
you doing? And then you feel illicit. There's like something, yeah, I'm a spy. Yeah, that's fun
Right.
though.
Yeah.
That's,
What happened? I would Google things like, well, what happens if you get shot in your femur? How long does it take to recover? I mean,
oh my
things like,
God, I love
yeah.
this. I love this. But it's
Mhm.
fun. But it's, like, how do you kill someone?
Right.
You know?
You don't
Yeah,
want,
like,
you don't want people looking at that.
well, even a hit and run, right? We're talking about that and how
Right.
someone gets hit and hit
Hmm.
and run. Hit and runs humans, hit and runs cars. Like there's all those things you have to even understand to make it real. I remember our band, we had a car accident in our band and, crazy. And we ended up defending the, percussionist because what the police said didn't make sense of what they were accusing him of. And we went and Nancy, my mom did this whole big diagram saying this impossible, scientifically impossible to say that he did this. He would flip the car at this speed because they had this little, uh, what do you call it in the inner, like a median.
Hmm.
And you were saying they were weaving and going like 65 miles an hour in this tiny little road that if he didn't hit the median, he would flip or like, you know, he wouldn't be able to keep going basically. And he got off because of that. And it turned out it was the cops' first day and they just wanted him to get an arrest.
Oh
And
God.
so that didn't work, but we all won and that was fun. It was fun because the lawyer used Nancy's drawing in
I love
court.
it.
They're
I
gonna
love
know
it.
it. And she put a little, you guys, you're in LA, so you got a little Jack in the Box. So she put like a little Jack in the Box cartoon character for what Jack in the Box was. She was just helping the lawyer because we knew where it was and then they used it. And we're
Your
all
mother is
sitting,
something.
you're all sitting in court looking at this going, oh my God, that look at the little guy. I'm glad she didn't do anything else to it because she could, you know, I know my mother, so it was really funny, but, it worked. But those things you have to get right too in a book when you look at
Yes.
accidents and can that really happen or not? And some of that's technical. So
Yes,
that's
it
where
is.
I'm thinking about your magazine work. You had to get things a little bit technically right there too, you know?
Yes, I did.
Mhm.
Um, and I wasn't an expert. I worked for a while for an architecture magazine, which is how
Oh,
I
cool.
got into that. But, I didn't really know that much. I learned a lot by
That's the
asking a
beauty of
lot of
writing.
questions. Right. But I was no expert.
I like writing because of not knowing everything, that
Hmm.
you go down a rabbit hole and go, "Ooh, is this something?" And then sometimes you can go down a rabbit hole completely, entirely go crazy, become a passion project, and then you don't even use it.
I've discarded many things along the way.
Do you
Yeah.
keep them though for maybe
I do.
potential,
I'll take, if I write something and I don't use it, I'll put it in a folder
just in case?
just in case I want it to use it later. Yes.
What's it like going from nonfiction to stories to book? I mean, it, are there rules like you have to look at and go, don't go over this many words, you better cut it down or like,
No, way fewer rules in a novel because a lot of short stories, they have a lot of magazines literally have a 5,000 word limit,
mm-hmm,
which is not that much.
mm-hmm,
And a novel, well, you don't want to write such a long novel that nobody wants to read it. So you have that, but there's no real word limit. And you also just dwell with the characters for much longer.
mm.
So it's sort of a unraveling process, as you get to know them.
Now, would you like intersections to be like a movie? Because I think it would be a
Well,
fantastic.
I would, of course, love that.
Hmm.
uh, but, it's not even out yet. So we'll, see. We'll, see.
Well, I hope it's, It's, you know, to me, I think it's a story that is, you're bringing so many things together that brings people to reality and compassion and empathy. And you're bringing things that have to have discussion in the world right now. It's very timely, I
It
think.
is with addiction. Yes, it is with many things. Um, with right and
Yeah.
wrong because it's a morally am, ambiguous. I
Yes.
can't talk.
That's a big
Novel,
word.
ambiguous. Yes, it is. You know, morally ambiguous. Um,
Yeah.
and
Huh.
a lot of things happening today. Well, to me, they're not morally ambiguous, but they clearly are to a lot of other people.
Mm.
So it is timely, and addiction's very timely, I think.
And people don't mean to. And then it's
No.
like, how do you pull out of it? And then there's a stigma attached to it. It's hard for people. I mean, nowadays, even, you know, being able to get a job, they look at everything now. And, you
Mm-hmm.
know, oh, there's laws to protect you depending on where you live. Um, but not really. Still, there's a stigma attached.
There is.
And people come through addictions, you know, it's hard. But, you know, I know people that are just amazing. They're living fantastic lives. They have to work at it still over, you know, they've been through it for decades, you know, clean. But, I always go like, apparently I mean, I remember I smoked when I was a teenager and then went back into it and really had to stop, but I was able to. But I remember for those first few days, like I wasn't very nice to anybody. I had to lock myself away from friends, everybody for like 2 to 3 weeks and not
It's an
be around
addiction.
anybody who smokes. Yeah, it was
Mhm.
an addiction. So I was like, wow, you know, they talk about like smoking is one of the hardest. And then now I don't even understand how or why, you know?
Yeah, it's
Thank God
it,
for my budget. Budget's
that
not bad.
helps. That helps.
God, like I don't
Yeah.
even know how much a pack of cigarettes would cost now.
I have no idea.
It's
You
like
know,
gotta
and
be
I
like,
live in LA, which is,
oh
we
yeah,
have
holy hell,
tons of
yeah.
homeless and many of them are meth addicts. And yeah,
And didn't mean to.
no, they just fell into it through mental illness and escaping, living, their horrible lives living on the streets.
That's sad. A lot
Yeah.
of people end up in situations that someone's drugged them too, and then
Yes.
you're
There's
messed
all
up.
kinds of stories going around now about how you're not even supposed to take a bottle of water in an Uber because somebody got drugged with a
Whoa.
resealed bottle of water in an Uber.
Well, I
Hmm.
saw something just, was it this morning or yesterday? They were talking about how they tie something to the spoke of a tire, like the wheel of a car, like the tire area, the rim or whatever. And people go, oh, there's something stuck. And when they go down, they're smelling fentanyl and then they're drugged and
Oh, oh wow. I
taken.
haven't heard that one
And it's
yet.
happening to teenagers.
That's
Like,
terrible.
oh, yeah. So there's all these ways. I mean, it was like being date raped. And,
Yeah.
that was a big date rape drug was around, when I was in those, the younger years, you had to watch what you were drinking,
Well,
who was
still,
around your
you
drink.
still do.
Yeah, yeah, you do with everything now.
I
And,
was just out to dinner with
mm,
a bunch of women and one woman left her drink on the bar. And we were like,
mm-mm,
don't do that. And then went, got it. Yeah.
mm-mm,
Hmm.
don't ever. And you have to go out with people you trust, you
Of
know?
course.
And it's just, I think even now with all these dating apps and everything, I'm always like, you're asking, I don't know, people meet and fall in love and get married and have kids and have a wonderful life. So there's plenty of amazing stories, but there's that percentage of me goes, mm-mm,
No, I
you
would
know,
personally be terrified, but that's
I,
me.
I don't know if I could even put a profile up. Like I had to do Facebook and that sucks. You know,
I know.
you have a photo that's vintage, Lisa. It's vintage. You know, I was way under 50 and yeah, a lot better, a lot better body shape. Let's just put it that way. And we'll leave it there. And that's where it's going to stay. Going to stay
I
that way.
agree.
It's like, no, I'm not doing it. But yeah, I think this is interesting because you bring up all these conversation points. So I really hope you do a book club with this because of the grief side and losing a child.
Well, these people lost a child
Yeah.
and yeah, they kind of fade immediately.
Yeah. But
Not
still,
in
it's
real
there.
life. It's
But it's
there.
there.
And
It's
then,
that
and
ether.
Charlotte's terrified. Her daughter does overdose and almost die right the day after the accident. I can tell you that. Um, so she's terrified of losing her daughter.
Yeah. That's, yeah. And then they sometimes go back to it.
It frequently, the rate of recovery when you've been in a rehab, the rate of falling off recovery is something like 85%. There's no real number, but they say it's around 85%.
God.
Yeah, it's high and it takes.
Did you set out thinking this? I mean, I understand how you got the story and how the seed came and from a real story, but did you think you were going to go down that road of
No,
addiction? And yeah,
no.
do you feel glad now that you've put something out there? Everyone's coming out May 6th, just saying.
Right.
Um,
Yes, because not enough is written, I think, about neurodiversity in fiction or addiction.
mhm.
There's plenty of nonfiction books. And in fact, the short story collection that I'm trying to make into a novel now, I'm
Ooh,
doing because Santa Fe Writers Project said they they hadn't seen anybody write about neurodiversity this as much as I do, and wanted me to make it into a novel. So we'll see.
ooh,
Yeah,
ooh, I like this. Maybe Nana will help, right? I don't know.
I don't know.
November will come soon, but but also like because of these kinds of topics, it's like you're creating awareness, but I know like nonfiction books on self-help and going through these, major circumstances, PTSD and any of that kind of thing helps, right? It's important. But I think storytelling gives you there's a comfort in it that I can't really explain it, but there's something about reading a story, whether it's true or not, that you can identify and have a connection with. So you don't feel so alone. And I think when people go through really tough times, no matter what, because no one is exactly in their shoes, we can never 100% be in someone else's shoes. Even if you're going through exactly the same thing in the same house, same people,
Mm-hmm.
same circumstance, you're still in different shoes.
Right. And so many people are going through similar things. I mean, not, as you said, identical, but so many people, are struggling with these issues.
Mm. Yeah. This is good, but you still have a story.
Yeah.
And it's, and friendship comes from that. So there's the warm part of that, right? The
Right.
friendships and
And
friendships can hold your feet to the fire to get things better.
right. And they're very unlikely friends. I mean, Ed is obviously blue collar. He's 59. Charlotte's 45, upper middle class. She's a style guru.
Mm-hmm.
She works for wealthy people, making their lives nicer and prettier. So they have very different backgrounds. And that's sort of what I wanted to do. I wanted to take two people who would never have been friends and put them in a situation where they became, friends and found commonality.
But it's real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is real.
Yeah. People do it.
They do. They do. I love it. Wow. Well, look how much you've done.
We hope.
How do you feel? Like, I feel like, okay, you should be lying on a couch now and I'll bring you a martini and go like, hey, how do you feel
Yeah.
writing all of this
I don't think
in
I'm
one
there
novel?
yet.
In one novel. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not out like to the world yet, but everyone, you can pre-order it, be one of the first people to get it on the block, you know. And
Mhm.
are you going to do a book club if people wanted that? Would you
Oh,
do that or
absolutely. I'm open to doing any book club
cool?
on Zoom. I've been asked to do a couple. So yeah, I'm very open to doing book clubs, and I'm having a book launch in LA and probably another one in New York.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. So everyone, you've got to keep up with I'm on your Instagram right now. By the way, I love your dog. Can I just tell you?
Thank you. There's
Can,
two of them. Keep scrolling.
oh, okay. Wait, I got it. Yeah, yeah. No. So everyone, KarenUllman.com, but follow her on Instagram. And, oh, you do. Oh, you do. They're all cute. She's got beautiful flowers and beautiful dogs. And I'm very excited for you. I'm very excited for you with this because I mean, you wrote a whole book.
Well,
I always
thank
think that's
you.
amazing. I'd freak out. Like,
Well, I'm happy I finished it. Let's put it that
what
way.
was it like actually going, that's it? I know
Uh,
there's all these processes that happen, right? Editing and all that, and people reading it and then giving you feedback that you really want but don't want. Right? So,
when I was done, I was done.
nice.
Yeah. And after a while, you don't want any more feedback.
Yeah, no. See, like enough of that now. I got the message.
Yeah. And of
Yeah.
course it's edited. But yeah, no, and it's a long process. It's a much longer process than I think most people realize. You don't just write a book and it's out the next day. It's a couple of years. So,
If you were to give the novel Intersections a theme song,
hmm.
that's a
Oh
mean
boy.
question without letting you know
Oh
beforehand. That's
boy.
cruel. What would come to you know, because to me, it's about doing, um, there's a song, gosh, if you want to do right, do right. Ah,
Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, which is popular.
oh, for Intersections. Oh my God. But it's true. If you
Yeah.
listen to the lyrics, you
Hmm.
know, you listen
It
to the
is.
lyrics, that connects for
Yeah.
sure. And Intersection's such a smart title too.
Well, because there's all different there's the literal intersection and then there's the life intersections.
This could turn into a whole like series. It could.
Yeah, I've been asked. We'll see.
Yeah, because it could.
Mhm.
Because there's so many. Yeah. It's like, well, how did this happen? Yeah. Then you'd have to do, I don't know, a music playlist would be really cool for this.
It would be. I should think about it.
Mm, I got some ideas for that. Casey
We,
Musgraves did a book a song about going through addiction. It was her
I'll have to look that
recently.
up on Spotify.
Yeah, I think it would be really
Well,
cool to
there's
have a
Amy
music playlist.
Winehouse.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's cool. There's just
yeah,
Fast Car though. I think you nailed it with that as being the main.
that
That's a
was
really
luck.
good one. That was
That was
good. You
just
did good. You
luck.
get points.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we were on TV right now, you'd win the boat. But yeah, that's a good one. But I think there's let me put it this way, there are books that are sometimes the soundtrack to life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like even though it's not music, but some books you resonate deeply with people on different levels for different things. And sometimes it's not even what the author thought of at all.
That's
It's,
true.
and
Things mean different things to different people.
it's like one person's trash is another person's treasure, right?
Yeah.
It's the same. I'm not saying your book's trash, not at all.
No, no, no. You did make me
It,
rethink there will be an audiobook and they asked about music and I said no, but now I'm rethinking that. So,
yeah, music is because it is. It's just books, when you get a chance to connect on something and then when it's a personal journey and it's a good story and it's about doing the right thing too, right? It's about justice isn't the right word, but it's,
well, there is the question of justice in this
yeah,
because because justice is another question that comes up. I can't really say too much without giving it away,
yeah.
but yeah, justice is there or not there.
It's a little bit of everything. There's
Mhm.
all these things in there that people go through in life that you go, oh man, so and so just went through this. And then there's like, well, around the corner now, this is happening too. So there's something for everyone to identify with, and maybe we'll identify with something later on too. That's another thing, a beauty about storytelling is sometimes you can reread a book or rewatch a movie or re-listen to an album, and it has a completely different meaning the second time. And
It's
sometimes even
true.
better,
I love
just,
to reread things.
yeah, because it's just, you've done more things
Hmm.
and you read better. We get better, because we all learn stuff. Even if you don't want to learn anything, life will make you learn stuff. That's the truth.
It's true.
Yeah, you
It's
can not
very
like
true.
change, but change will still happen.
It will. And
I mean,
for the
that's the
better or for worse, right?
intersection right there. A hit and run
Mhm.
accident, like you didn't
Yeah.
plan it, boom, and life will change. And that's the beauty of writing and storytelling. It's like you never know what's going to happen. And now I have to go walk a dog and I'm nervous.
Yeah, it would.
But,
Well, my
but
dog's the size of a horse, so.
you have beautiful dogs. I'm following you now because this is so cool. But no, really, congratulations. I know when this airs, people are going to love hearing about this and go get it and pre-order it and be part of this. But I really, really, really know that this will end up being more of like good conversations between friends. Even those small, intimate book clubs are sometimes some of the better ones that people really have discussions that are meaningful and transcend, and that's what we always hope with books and stories, that they transcend, you know, through
They
time
certainly
and through
do.
people. So
Hmm.
thank you so much, Karen.
Well,
I'm
thank you,
so glad you came
Lisa.
on the show. That's a
I
what a
had a
cool
very good
conversation.
time. Yes.
Me too. Thank you. And so audience, you better. I'm coming after you. I'm kidding. But thank you so much and
Thanks,
best wishes
Lisa.
on your pub day. Hope you have lots of cookies and cake.
I will. And best of luck walking that dog.
Thank you. I know.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to Big Blend Radio's Toast to the Art Show. Please keep up with us at bigblendradio.com and keep up with Big Blend magazines at blendradioandtv.com.